Chosen one, what I am about to say to you is not dramatic language designed to create urgency that is not real. What I am describing is a pattern. A specific pattern of outreach that has been operating in your life with increasing directness, and that most people do not recognize for what it is until the season in which it was operating has already passed. And I do not want that to happen for you today. God has been trying to reach you, not once, 4 times, with a different method each time, and with increasing urgency with each successive attempt. Type, "The alarm is ringing" in the comments if something in you already knew before a single word was spoken in this message that this was assembled for you, not as performance. As a record of the recognition that is already happening, I want to say something before I describe the attempts, because what I am describing is not a message that belongs to everyone in equal measure. What I am about to describe is specific to the chosen one who is in a particular season and a particular posture, and part of what will happen as you receive it is a recognition that arrives not from the mind, but from somewhere deeper, a knowing that precedes analysis, a sense of being seen that comes before you have finished processing whether the words are accurate. That recognition, if it is happening in you right now, is itself part of the pattern I am describing. The 4th attempt does not wait for full intellectual confirmation before beginning to land. The chosen one who has been in this season, who has carried the weight of a calling that has not yet found its visible expression, who has moved through disruptions and set down desires and received words that landed and then faded, that specific person has developed a specific quality of inner hearing that most people around them do not have. A capacity for recognizing the frequency of what is real, even when the surface of the message looks ordinary. You have been developing that capacity through everything you have been carrying, and it is that capacity that recognizes this word today. I want to say something about the instinct when hearing language like this is to review the past and try to identify the moments, and then to feel either the comfort of recognition or the anxiety of uncertainty about whether the pattern is yours. I want to say something that applies to both responses. The 4 attempts do not arrive the way most people expect divine outreach to look. They do not come as a voice from the sky or as a sign so obvious it leaves no room for doubt. They come disguised as experiences that have a completely natural explanation available. Experiences that the rational mind can process and file away as ordinary without ever registering their deeper origin. A persistent internal desire, an unexpected disruption, a word from another person that lands with unusual weight, an impulse to stop and receive a specific message at a specific moment. 4 attempts, each one carrying the same word wrapped in different packaging, each one going partially received and then set down, because the full reception of what was arriving would have required something the person was not yet ready to give. And each one leaving the calling in place, patient, waiting for the next attempt to find a more ready receiver. Now let me describe the first 2 attempts, not as a general pattern that could apply to anyone, but as the specific shape they tend to take in the life of the chosen one who is receiving this message. Because I believe that as I name them, you will not experience a vague sense of familiarity. You will experience a specific memory. You will know exactly what season I am describing before I finish the description. The first attempt came through a desire, not a passing preference or a casual interest. A specific, persistent, unusual desire that was not consistent with the logic of your current circumstances when it arrived. Something you wanted that you had no rational basis for wanting at that particular point in your life. It looked like wishful thinking, like the kind of hope that responsible people learn to manage into something more proportionate to their actual situation. so you treated it as a dream. You placed it in the category of things you would return to someday when the conditions were more favorable. When you had more time, more resources, more evidence that the desire was pointing somewhere real, you filed it under aspiration rather than appointment, and continued building the life that was immediately in front of you. And life continued, and the desire sat quietly in the place where you had left it. But it did not leave. It came back, and each time it returned, it arrived with the same weight it had carried the first time. Not heavier, not lighter, exactly the same weight. Because a desire that carries a calling inside, it does not diminish when you set it down. It does not respond to being deprioritized by becoming quieter. A place that was already oriented toward something specific before you had a word for what that something was. That desire was the first attempt. Type "I hear the call" if the first attempt is yours. If the specific desire I described has a shape in your memory. If you know exactly what it was, even though you have never said it out loud to anyone. This is important because the first attempt does not always look spiritual. It often looks practical. It looks like a direction you have been drawn toward that seems disproportionate to your current circumstances. It looks like a question you keep returning to about what you are supposed to be doing, with the specific combination of gifts and experiences that make you who you are. And the reason it keeps returning is that the one who placed it in you does not withdraw a calling because the timing has been difficult. The first attempt is always still alive. The second attempt came through a disruption. Something in your life stopped working in the way it had been working. A relationship changed. A plan collapsed. A path you had been building toward encountered an obstacle that interrupted the forward motion you had established, and you processed the disruption as difficulty, as something to be grieved briefly and then managed. You found your footing. You rebuilt what could be rebuilt. You adapted to the new landscape, because that is what capable people do, and you are capable, and the adaptation happened. But in the space that the disruption opened before you closed it, something else was present. A question, a specific question that the disruption had been designed to force into view, that the opened space was holding, that was waiting to be asked. You could feel the edge of the question in the gap, and you moved through the gap as quickly as you could because the gap was uncomfortable and the question it was holding was going to be expensive to answer. You closed the space, and the question was never asked. The disruption was not what you thought it was. It was the second attempt. It was the same calling that had been living in the first desire, arriving now through a different door. The desire had asked the question softly. The disruption asked it louder, and the response to the louder question was the same as the response to the softer one. Not yet, not here. I will come back to this. The chosen one who is in the fourth attempt is someone who has been through enough of the first three that the fourth is landing on a person who has been shaped by what they did not fully receive the first three times. The desire, the disruption, the word, these were not wasted, even when they were not answered. They were forming the specific kind of capacity that the assignment requires. You are not the same person who received the first attempt. You are the person who was shaped by not fully receiving the first three. And that shaping is exactly why the fourth attempt is possible in a different way than the first three were. I want you to understand something about both of these attempts before we continue to the third and fourth. Neither one was a test of your attention or your spiritual alertness. Neither one was designed to expose a failure. They were genuine invitations to a real conversation about a real assignment. The fact that you set them down was a reasonable human response to invitations that were arriving before the full context for receiving them was in place. You are carrying that context now. That is why the fourth attempt looks like this. The third attempt came through a person. Someone said something to you that landed differently than ordinary speech. It was not a compliment about your performance. It was not encouragement designed to make you feel better in a difficult moment. It was a specific observation about who you are, or what you carry, or what the person saw when they looked at you. An observation that went past the surface of your current circumstances and named something that existed underneath them. And the words landed with a weight that surprised you. You may have felt something physical in the receiving of them, a warmth that moved through you before your mind had time to evaluate whether the words were accurate, a sensation of being seen that is different from the feeling of being praised. And then you said thank you, and you continued with your day. Not because the words were not real, not because you dismissed them, but because receiving them fully, allowing them to change the direction of your life in the way they were pointing, would have required a response you were not ready to give in that moment. The person who said them was not expecting an immediate response. Neither was the one who sent them. The word was delivered and placed in you to be carried, to be returned to grow in weight over time, until the weight became something you could no longer set aside. That person was sent. The specific moment was arranged. The specific words were not improvised. And the weight they left in you has been sitting in exactly the place where it was placed, waiting for the moment when you were carrying enough context to know what to do with it. Now the fourth attempt has come, and the fourth attempt is this message. The specific impulse that brought you here was not random. The timing of your arrival at this word was not accidental. The three previous attempts have been assembling a specific kind of readiness in you, the readiness to receive a fourth attempt in a way that produces a different result than the first three produced. And the word that God has been trying to deliver across all four attempts is not a mystery to you. It is the same word that was living in the desire, that was asking through the disruption, that was visible in the face of the person who was sent. You already know what it is. You have been circling it for longer than you realize. Type Kairos, time, in the comments if the fourth attempt is registering. If the pattern is visible to you now, and you are ready to receive it differently than you received the previous three. Most people in this situation, when they look back at the three previous attempts that went partially received, arrive at a specific self-diagnosis. They conclude that something was wrong with their faith, that their spiritual attentiveness was insufficient, that a person with better spiritual sensitivity would have recognized the signals for what they were and responded appropriately. And they carry that self-assessment as a quiet background weight that complicates the fourth attempt, because they arrive at the fourth attempt already explaining to themselves why they are not the kind of person who would have recognized the first three. I want to name that self-assessment clearly and then set it aside, because it is not accurate. Now I want to describe the root cause of why the first three attempts went partially received, because this is the part of the message that most teaching on this subject either gets wrong or leaves out entirely. Most teaching implies that the chosen one who has missed the first three attempts was not paying attention, was not spiritually alert, was operating in some form of deficiency that caused the signal to pass through without landing. That is not what happened. What happened is more specific and more useful. The root cause is not spiritual inattention. The root cause is reception capacity. There is a specific faculty in the chosen one that is designed to receive the signal at the level of its full weight, to process what arrives from above at the depth at which it was sent, to hold the word in a way that allows it to translate into direction and then into action, through a specific physiological process that happened gradually, quietly, without anyone telling you it was happening. The brain was designed for whole brain operation, two hemispheres working in synchronized concert. In childhood, most people operated in that synchronized state naturally. The world had not yet applied the specific pressures that gradually pull the hemispheres out of alignment. And in that synchronized state, the capacity for reception, for receiving what arrives from a deeper source than ordinary experience, was operating at its original level. What the modern life of an adult does, through its specific demands and its specific patterns of stress and its specific sensory environment, is gradually shift the operation of the brain into a dominant hemisphere mode, where the synchronized state becomes occasional rather than continuous. And when that happens, the reception capacity is diminished, not destroyed, diminished. The signal still arrives, but the receiver is operating at a reduced capacity, and the word that was sent at full weight arrives at partial clarity. It is felt but not fully decoded. It lands but does not fully translate. It leaves a residue of recognition that fades before it can become direction. This is why the first 3 attempts went the way they went, not because the sending was imprecise, because the receiving was operating below the level the sending required. There is a man in the ancient record whose story carries the shape of what I have been describing. His name was Jonah. And what makes his story relevant to your situation today is not the part with the sea creature, though that part is remarkable. What makes it relevant is the pattern that preceded that part. There was a specific word placed in Jonah for a specific assignment, and Jonah received the word. He knew what it was. He did not misunderstand it, but he calculated the cost of answering it, and he moved in the opposite direction. What I want you to understand about Jonah is that his movement in the opposite direction was not irrational. The assignment was difficult. The destination was hostile territory. The reception of what he was being sent to deliver was unlikely to be warm. Jonah made a reasonable calculation given the information he had available. The problem was not the calculation. The problem was that the calling was not going to be rerouted because the calculation was reasonable. The assignment stayed in place, and the road that was opened by moving in the opposite direction was longer, more costly, and eventually arrived at the same destination. And the sea creature was not punishment. I want to make sure that is clear, because most readings of the Jonah story treat what happened after the ship as the consequence of disobedience. But a consequence is designed to produce something in the person who is experiencing it. And what the sea creature produced in Jonah was not pain alone, it produced clarity. That is the most direct version of the 4th attempt. The darkness before the deliverance is the last place where the calling speaks without competition. The 4th attempt is the moment after the storm, after the ship, after the darkness. It is the moment when the calling becomes visible in its full shape, and the question is no longer whether to answer, but how quickly the answering can begin. You are in that moment now. The road that led here was real. The cost of the road was real. And the destination that the road has been leading to is real. Type deep, not late in the comments if the Jonah pattern is yours. If you recognize the experience of being redirected not because the calling was wrong, but because the road to it required a specific kind of forming that the more direct path would not have produced. There is something that was discovered in research settings that I believe is directly connected to what I have been describing about the root cause of partial reception. Something about how the brain operates in the specific state that would allow a person to receive what is being sent from above at the level of its full weight. I am going to describe what was found later in this message, but I want you to hold this question as we continue. What if the fog that has made the signals harder to receive has not been a spiritual condition at all? What if it has been a specific, addressable, physiological condition that has a specific solution? And what if addressing that condition is what makes the 4th attempt produce a different outcome than the first 3 produced? Hold that question. I want to pause here and hold something in front of you before we continue, because what I'm about to describe in this message connects to the root cause I just named in a way that I believe is going to matter to you before this word ends. What does it look like to answer the fourth attempt? Not in a general sense, in the specific shape of the 4 types of signal that have been trying to reach you. Answering the first attempt, the desire, does not require a complete change of your current life in a single day. It requires one thing: naming it. Speaking out loud, to yourself first and then to someone you trust. The specific desire that has been living in you without a name, because what a calling carries inside. A desire cannot become a direction as long as it is nameless. It operates as a background frequency that influences everything without being acknowledged as the source. Naming it is the act that allows it to become something you can orient toward rather than something you simply carry. Most people who have a persistent calling-level desire have never named it out loud, because naming it makes it real in a way that requires a response that is usually costly in some dimension of their current life. So, the desire stays unnamed, returns in windows, and the cost of answering it stays theoretical. Answering the second attempt, the disruption, requires asking the question the disruption was designed to force, not the question of how to recover. The deeper question: what was the disruption rerouting you away from, and toward what? If the disruption happened and the question was never asked, it is not too late to ask it now. The space it opened was closed prematurely, but the question is still present in the material of the event. Answering the third attempt requires returning to the word that arrived through the person who was sent, not to chase the person down and have a further conversation, but to take the specific thing they said and ask honestly what it requires of you, what direction it was pointing, what it would mean for your daily life if it were fully received rather than received at the surface and then set aside. Most words that arrive through a sent person are recognized in the moment and then rationalized afterward. The rationalization is not dishonesty. It is the preservation instinct of a life that has not yet made room for the answer. And answering the fourth attempt is this: staying in this word until the full weight of what is being described has landed, not processing it quickly and moving on, not allowing the recognition to be a pleasant experience that concludes without producing direction, allowing the fourth attempt to do what the first 3 were trying to do. I want to address something directly, something the chosen one who has missed 3 previous attempts will be feeling right now. There is a specific form of resistance that arrives in the person who recognizes the pattern I have been describing. It sounds like this: I have felt this kind of recognition before. I have felt the weight of the word arriving and the sense that something was being asked of me, and the feeling faded. And my life continued without the response the feeling was asking for. Why would this time be different? That is an honest question, and it deserves an honest answer. This time is different for 2 reasons. The first is accumulation. You are not the same person who received the first attempt. You have been shaped by 3 years or 5 years of carrying the calling without answering it fully. That shaping has been building a specific kind of readiness. The first attempt arrived too early to find. The soil is different now. The second reason is specific to this moment. The fourth attempt carries something the first 3 did not carry. It carries the weight of the pattern itself. You now know it is not the first time. You now know the shape of what has been trying to reach you. You now know that the disruptions and the desires and the words were not random events, and that knowledge changes what is possible in the reception. Receiving a word when you know it is the fourth attempt, when you have named the pattern and recognized your own role in it, is a categorically different act than receiving the word when it arrives as the first attempt. Now I want to show you what the other side of the fourth attempt looks like. not as a promise that everything will be easy, as a specific description of what opens when the fourth attempt is answered. The chosen one who answers the fourth attempt enters a season that the previous 3 attempts were trying to lead them to all along. The specific assignment that was living in the original desire begins to take its visible shape in the world. The relationships that were being positioned and prepared during the waiting seasons arrive in their appointed roles at the time when they are needed. The specific wisdom accumulated through the formation of carrying the calling unanswered becomes the primary resource for the assignment, rather than a background quality that operates without recognition. There is a specific quality of motion that begins when the fourth attempt is answered, not the frantic motion of someone who is trying to make up for lost time. A different quality, purposeful motion in a specific direction, with the weight of everything that was accumulated in the formation seasons behind it. The person who answers the fourth attempt moves with a settled authority that was not available before the formation was complete. What opens on the other side of the fourth attempt is not a different life. It is the same life, finally aligned with the direction it was always moving toward. And that alignment produces a specific quality of clarity that the formation seasons could not produce, because clarity of that kind requires the answer to be given before the full expression can begin. Type restoration is mine in the comments if something is shifting right now. If the resistance that arrived when I named it is already beginning to soften. If what I have been describing is reaching something in you that the previous words could not reach. This is the midpoint of what I need to tell you, and there is a reason I place this gate here. Because everything I am about to tell you in the second half of this message builds on the foundation of what you have just received. If the pattern I described is real for you, if you recognized your own experience in the structure of the 4 attempts, then what comes next will land with a different quality than it would have if you had encountered it first, without the context. The second half of this message is about the specific mechanism, why reception capacity diminishes over time and what restores it, why the 4th attempt is not just emotionally significant but neurologically timed, and what the chosen one, who is ready to answer the 4th attempt, can do today that will make the answer permanent rather than another feeling that arrives and fades. I mentioned earlier that the modern environment creates interference with the reception frequency that calling level messages travel on. I described it as a narrowing of reception capacity, and I told you that there is a specific discovery about how the brain processes signals of this kind that explains both why the interference happens and what restores full reception capacity. I am going to tell you about that now, not because the science is the main point, because the chosen one who understands the mechanism is equipped to do something different with the 4th attempt than the chosen one who only feels the weight of it and waits for the feeling to produce change on its own. The feeling is not enough. The feeling is the signal. The signal requires a functioning receiver to become an actionable direction, and the receiver is something you can restore. Stay with me. What I am about to show you changes what is possible for you beginning today. There is a researcher who has spent the better part of 2 decades studying one specific question. The question is not about spirituality. It is not about calling or destiny or any of the language I have been using in this message. His question was narrower and more technical. He wanted to know why some people are able to process and retain information that arrives in high-stakes moments, while others process the same information and retain almost none of it. His name is Dr. Daniel Barone, and what his research eventually discovered was not what anyone in his field expected to find. The conventional assumption was that retention differences in high-stakes moments were a function of attention, that people who retained more were simply paying more attention. His research found that attention was not the primary variable. The primary variable was something he called whole brain synchronization, a state in which both the analytical and the intuitive processing systems of the brain are operating in coordinated communication rather than in the condition he called cross-interference, where one system suppresses the other. In normal waking consciousness, most people experience some degree of cross-interference. One part of the processing system is dominant, and the other is operating at reduced capacity. This is not a pathology. It is the expected result of sustained exposure to the kind of fragmented, rapid cycling information that the modern environment delivers at volume. The brain adapts to the input it receives most frequently. And the input the modern environment delivers most frequently trains the brain away from the coordinated state that Dr. Barone identified as essential for processing high-stakes information. What this means in practical terms is that a word of genuine calling-level importance can arrive while a person is in cross-interference, and the person can feel the emotional weight of it without the full cognitive architecture being available to process it into direction. The feeling arrives. The system that would convert the feeling into retained, actionable understanding is operating at reduced capacity. And so the feeling is felt and then fades rather than being converted into something the person can act on. This is not a spiritual failure. This is a neurological condition that is addressable. Dr. Barone spent years creating a reliable protocol for inducing the synchronized state outside of laboratory conditions. What he eventually developed was a sequence of specific cognitive and sensory inputs that consistently produced whole brain synchronization within minutes of beginning the sequence. He called it the genius switch. The name reflects the central mechanism. The switch is not metaphorical. It refers to the specific neurological transition from cross-interference to synchronized operation. And the genius it refers to is not intellectual genius in the conventional sense. It is the full capacity processing state that every person has available to them, but that most people rarely access, because the conditions that produce it are not present in the ordinary rhythm of daily life. The genius switch protocol does not require prior training, a specific environment, or any particular belief system. It was tested across populations with widely varying backgrounds, education levels, and cognitive styles. The requirement is not a particular kind of person. The requirement is willingness to follow the sequence consistently. I want to share what several people who have used this protocol described after their first consistent period of use. Not as sales language, as specific descriptions that are relevant to the chosen one who has just received the fourth attempt. One person described it this way. She said that for 3 years she had been receiving what she called nudges about a specific direction her life was supposed to take. She could feel them arriving but could never hold them long enough to convert them into action. Within the first 2 weeks of using the genius switch, she described the nudges as arriving and staying, not fading. She said it was the first time she could feel a direction and maintain it long enough to take a first step in that direction. A second person described a more specific experience. He said he had been through a significant disruption, a season of loss that he recognized afterward as a turning point he had not fully navigated. He had been living with the feeling that something had been offered in that disruption that he had not been able to receive. After 6 weeks of consistent use of the protocol, he described returning to the material of that disruption in a different cognitive state, and finding, in his words, that the thing he had not been able to hold before was still there waiting for him. The tool is not a permanent solution that requires no maintenance. It is a daily practice that, used consistently, maintains the synchronized state as the baseline rather than the exception. The people who experience the most significant shifts are the ones who use it as a daily reset rather than an occasional intervention. What makes it relevant specifically to the chosen one who has received the fourth attempt, is the timing. The fourth attempt has arrived at a moment when the accumulated weight of the formation process is present and available. The question is what the person does with that weight in the hours and days after receiving the fourth attempt. If the environment that created cross-interference is not addressed, the pattern can repeat. The weight of the fourth attempt can fade the same way the weight of the first three faded, not because the word was insufficient, but because the receiver was returned to the condition that prevented full reception. The daily practice is what prevents that from happening. It is how the chosen one who receives the fourth attempt today ensures that the fourth attempt is also the last attempt that needs to be sent, because the answer has been given and the direction has been retained. In terms of the practical details, colleagues of Dr. Barone suggested the Genius Switch would be incredible value at $500. In-person neurofeedback sessions run $300 per hour. Home neurofeedback equipment runs $7,000. The Genius Switch was released at $49. On this page today, an additional $10 off, $39. With 4 free editions at checkout, a guided visualization from a top creator on the Calm platform, a grocery guide identifying 10 common foods that contribute to brain fog, with 5 ways to save over $100 monthly, a manifestation text over 100 years old that underlies most modern practice in this area, and a printable 5 habits infographic. The entire package backed by an unconditional money-back guarantee. No condition. Every week the synchronization stays disrupted, is another week the arrangement God has prepared moves through a receiver operating below its designed capacity, not because the arrangement is withdrawn, because the depth of reception determines the depth of the arrival. What is coming deserves the full version of you. One thing worth naming directly. If you search for anything with a similar name in other places, you will find things. The team of Dr. Barone studied them. Most carried no clinical neural synchronization protocol embedded at all. The mechanism is what makes the difference, and the mechanism only exists in what the team of Dr. Barone built. The page, linked in the description below and in the pinned comment, is the only verified source for the authentic protocol. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. The fourth attempt has arrived. The receiver is available to be restored. I want to speak now to the person who is considering whether this is real, not doubting the word I have been speaking, but questioning whether the mechanism I just described, whether it actually works for someone like them. Someone who has tried things before, someone who has had the feeling of the word arriving and losing it before. The question is fair, and the answer to it is not in the description of the protocol. The answer is in the accumulated evidence of the formation that has already happened in you. The fact that you are in this fourth attempt at all is evidence that you have been carrying something real. The fact that it has persisted through 3 previous attempts without being extinguished is evidence that the carrying has been producing something. The protocol does not add something that is not already present. It restores the capacity to fully process what is already present. The carrying has been real. The only question is whether the receiver will be restored while the word is still present. And the word is present now. Before I close this message, I want to speak about 3 specific people, not 3 strangers, 3 versions of the chosen one who is receiving this word right now. Because the fourth attempt arrives differently depending on where the person receiving it has been, and I want to make sure that the word I have been speaking lands in the specific version of experience that is yours. The first is the person I will call the redirected one. This is the chosen one who answered something earlier in their life, who moved in a direction that felt like the calling, who invested in it, built something in it, and then watched it collapse or be taken away in a season they did not see coming. and who has been living in the aftermath of that collapse for long enough that the question of whether the calling is still present has become harder to answer than it was before the collapse. To the redirected one, I want to say this. What collapsed was not the calling. What collapsed was the specific form the calling was taking at that stage of the formation. The calling lives in you, not in the expression. The disruption that followed the first expression was not a verdict, it was a redirection, and the fourth attempt is the signal that the redirection has arrived at its intended destination. The second is the person I will call the finally ready. This is the chosen one who has been waiting consciously, who has known for a long time that something was coming and has been in a posture of preparation, sometimes for years, who has done the work of the waiting seasons, the study, the refinement, the development of specific capacities, and who now looks at their life and wonders whether the waiting is still preparation or whether it has become delay. To the finally ready, I want to say this. The waiting was not wasted. The preparation was real, and the capacities developed in those seasons are precisely the capacities the assignment requires. The fourth attempt is not telling you to wait longer. It is telling you that the waiting is complete. What stands between you and the beginning of the assignment is not more preparation. It is the act of answering. The fourth attempt for the finally ready is permission. The permission that the preparation seasons could not give you because it was not theirs to give. The fourth attempt carries the authorization that the formation seasons were building toward. You have been ready for longer than you knew. The fourth attempt is confirming it. The third is the person I will call the fourth attempt answered. This is the chosen one who, in the course of receiving this word, made a decision. Not the decision to think about it, not to feel moved and hope the feeling persists. The decision to do something different with this word than was done with the first three, to treat the fourth attempt as the last necessary one. To the fourth attempt answered, I want to say this. The decision you are making right now is not the beginning of something new in your life. It is the naming of something that has been true about you since before you arrived here. The calling that has been moving through 4 attempts to reach you was not created by the attempts. It was present in you before the first attempt was sent. The attempts were the mechanism of recognition, not the mechanism of creation. What you are recognizing right now was already there. It was always there. There is a specific way to work with what has arrived in this message that will determine whether the fourth attempt produces what it arrived to produce. I want to give you a clear structure for the next 4 days. Not a spiritual discipline, a practical protocol. On the first day, name the desire. The original calling level desire that has been present in some form since before the first attempt arrived. Write it down in a single sentence, spoken and written in direct language without qualification. Not what you want, what you actually want. The sentence that, when you read it, you recognize as true. On the second day, return to the disruption, not to process the grief of it again, but to ask the specific question the disruption was designed to force. Write down your answer to that question. 1 sentence. What was the disruption rerouting you toward? On the third day, return to the word that was spoken through the person who was sent. Write down the specific thing they said, and write down what it would require of you if it were fully received. 1 requirement. The most direct one. On the 4th day, take a single action in the direction of the desire you named. Not a complete response, a first action, the smallest action that is genuinely in the direction of the answer rather than in the direction of continued consideration. This is the protocol for converting the 4th attempt from a word that arrived into a direction that was answered. The tool, used daily across those 4 days and beyond, ensures that the synchronized state necessary for each of those steps is available when you sit down to take it. The link is in the description. The 4 days begin today. Type the 4th is the last in the comments if you have made the decision. If the 4th attempt is being answered and not only received. If what I have been describing has found the version of you that has been carrying this long enough to know that the next response cannot be another version of the same partial reception. Type it and read the other names in the comments, because the chosen one who is making this decision today is not making it alone. The others who have been reached by the 4th attempt are also here, also naming it, also in the posture of the finally ready and the redirected and the 4th attempt answered. And there is something specific that happens when the chosen one recognizes that the formation has been happening simultaneously in others who were called to the same season. The recognition changes the quality of the decision. It moves it from individual resolution to collective assignment. You are not doing this alone. You were never doing this alone. The 3 previous attempts arrived in the same season as the attempts that were sent to others who are in the same room you are now entering. The assignment that is yours is part of a larger movement that was being assembled across all the formation seasons you went through separately. And the 4th attempt, sent to each person at the appointed time, is the gathering call that brings the assembled together. Type, the 4th is the last. Find your people in the comments and take the first step. Now, before this message closes, I want to say one thing directly to you, not to the chosen one as a category, to you, the specific person who has been in this word from its beginning to now. You did not arrive here accidentally. You arrived here because the frequency that has been trying to reach you found its path to you through this specific channel on this specific day. The algorithm did not create that path. It was available for the path to move through. What arrived in this message was real. What you felt when I described the 4 types of attempt and you recognized your own life in the pattern. That recognition was not manufactured. It was the response of something in you that already knew what was being described, already knew it was real, already knew it was yours. The 4th attempt has arrived. The receiver is available to be restored. The link is in the description. The first day begins today. What was trying to reach you has reached you. Go.